Welcome back, 3D students. In this video, we're going to create the bones to go inside our simple character mesh. And bones are objects that act a lot like human bones. They are bound to the skin, which in this case is the mesh. And when the bones bend or rotate, they deform the mesh based on which vertices are influenced by that particular bone. Bones are set up in a parent-child relationship or a hierarchy so that when one bone moves, other bones follow. So in the case of a hand, say, this bone is a child of this bone. This bone can move independently, yes, but when this bone moves, this one must follow. And this bone is a child of this bone. And because this one is a child of this one, when this one moves, these two must move as well. And they can both move independently, and so forth and so on. This bone is a child of this bone. This bone is a child of this larger hand bone here. And this is the way we would set it up in 3D modeling. So to create bones, you go to Animation in the main menu, and you find the bone tools, and you open them up, and you have a little dialog here. And you will see that we can create bones, and that's what we're going to do. So click the Create Bone button, and you'll see some settings over here. And let's click at the bottom, and you'll see a bone appear. Let's go to about here, and then we're going to go about here, and then about, say, here, and then about here, and then we're going to click and drag a little bit and let that little bone come out, and right-click to finish, and that makes a little nub on the end. And now what we need to do is edit these bones. So let's turn off the Create Bones button here, and let's double-click on the bottom bone, and that selects the whole hierarchy. And let's create some colors for these bones to make them easier to see. Let's use a gradient. Let's click the Start Color, and I'm going to make the gradient Start Color green. And then let's click the End Color. I'm going to make that sort of a cyan color. Click Apply a Gradient. And when we click away, you can see now that these bones go from green to cyan. There are other settings here in the bone tools. Bones can have fins, but we're not going to worry about fins right now. And they can have other properties here as well. Right now, let's just stay right here. So let's click Bone Edit Mode. And that means we can now move bones. So with your Move tool selected, select the bottom bone, and then move it so that it's centered right in the mesh, and then move it down. And it's just changing the size of the bone when you move it this way so that it's right at the bottom. And let's get the next bone, and we need this bone to be right at the edge where it's going to bend it right there. And then let's get the next bone, move it in the center a little bit better, you need to, so it's right on the edge. And get the next bone, center it a little better if it needs, and move it so that it's on an edge. And then let's get the little nub here on the end and move it up so it's sitting right out the top there. Now we have our bones sort of where they need to be. But that's in the front view. Let's hit L on the keyboard to check them in the left view. And it looks like everything's nice and centered in the left view as well. Now let's create a layer for our bones. Exit Bone Edit Mode. Double click the bottom bone to select the whole hierarchy here. And then let's click the plus sign and rename that layer Bones. That is now the active layer, which we can hide or freeze if we need to. Let's make the default layer active again, so the next things we create will be in another layer. And let's look at the hierarchy view here in the Scene Explorer. The hierarchy view shows the hierarchy of the bones, and you can see them right here. You can see bone 5 here is a child of bone 4, which is a child of bone 3, 2, and 1. And this is much like the fingers, or the fingers that I showed you earlier. Now, when you're rigging, it's very important to stay organized. So let's name these bones. Let's name this one BN for bone, spine, or actually let's name it tail, 1. And then let's copy that name by hitting Control C on your keyboard. Let's select the next bone, highlight the name, paste that in there, and name this one and change this one to 2. Let's just keep doing that. Paste, change that one to 3. Paste, change that one to 4. Paste. Now this one's not going to be 5. This one's going to be end, because we want to distinguish that from all the rest of the bones. This bone is not going to have any effect on the mesh at all. So now that we've done that, let's return to the layer view, and we can close the bone tools. And when we come back in the next video, we're going to create some helper objects to help us move our bones. And I'll see you then.